What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops, one-stop shop for NBA talk with Steve, Jake, and Dunny. The boys are here. We're here to talk about hoops. Crazy couple games last night. Power rankings as usual, a little weekly HHH power rankings from the boys. Talking coach of the year and handing out some more flowers as well. And a few more things here and there. But guys, how we doing? How are we?
We're doing good. Probably not as good as you're doing today, Dunny, but I'm doing good. Another great night of NBA action last night, and we got a great slate today. So I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, including, I know you mentioned power rankings and the flowers, but some awards as well. The NBA giving names to the awards is, I think, a pretty big deal and pretty cool that the NBA is adopting that. So doing well. Very excited to talk about some of these games because last night we had a classic.
Yep. Yeah, the classic Lakers Celtics. I don't know which one of you guys sent out the tweet earlier in the day, but I think most of our followers probably thought it was me about the historic rivalry, Celtics Lakers, and it panned out, man. It really panned out.
I didn't have any doubts that those guys were going to come at each other heavy. I think that's a big reason that the Celtics got beat up so bad in that Clippers game. Those guys were definitely looking ahead to national TV, staples, LeBron, AD, the way that they've been playing. Those guys were looking ahead to that matchup. Just like I kind of think Saturday the Warriors were looking ahead to that Celtics matchup. And that's kind of how, honestly, everything about that road trip, if you want to talk Lakers Celtics here quick. First of all, I do have a gripe about last night's game, and it is the fact that they wore why did they not just wear the regular jerseys? Like, it's Lakers Celtics. I understand we got weird to make jerseys to sell, all this stuff, but that's the
what I think it could have been?
Okay.
Because the end of the first quarter, the Lakers actually had their own honoring of Bill Russell.
Okay.
And they did like the sixes on the court and everything, and like green lights were flashing. So I think the Celtic City jersey is like their Bill Russell jersey. So maybe they were planning on doing that. Maybe I don't know if the Lakers organization asked them to wear those to honor Russell, and because they were also doing a little something. And then in turn, the Lakers were like, we'll wear our alternate. I don't know. That just popped into my head.
No, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know if
I agree.
Has anything to do with it, but do you see Westbrook had green shoes on too when they were playing? Yeah. I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but yeah,
they were a Celtics shirt. It's like they were like the Russ Celtics or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it is something. Maybe that is something to it. But yeah, that was the only gripe I have. But besides that, the basketball on the floor, it was just it felt like a heavyweight fight. Like both teams came out. Like I said, they both wanted this game really bad. You could tell in the league, people don't like it to hear it. This is a lot of people will complain about NBA games, whatever. And just the night to night, maybe some guys are going to be more motivated, less motivated, whatever. That's just what comes with the grind of an 82 game season and the schedules they're on and everything. But a game like this, everybody on the floor, all the great talent was going to get up for this game. And I think the biggest thing to me, Dunny, is that the biggest guy, the guy that looks the best coming into today out of everybody that was on that floor is still Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
Even with LeBron James having a great performance, even with AD, as we were talking about before he came on, played 34 straight minutes. He was an Iron Man. He was doing everything for the Lakers, and we're still talking about Jayson Tatum today.
Yeah, you definitely got to go hats off to both AD and Bron. I mean, LeBron was a rebound and assist away from a 30-point triple-double. Playing 43 minutes at his age is just insane, dude. I mean, I know you guys saw a few of those dunks from that game too. I think Tatum was just amazed too in his post-game presser. Like he said, he was on the bench for one of those windmills that he threw down on the fast break. It's just, I mean, year 20, LeBron's still doing shit like that. I think on a game-to-game basis, it's crazy just how overlooked that stuff gets. And this is me, a guy who's hated LeBron for half of his career, but I can still appreciate when he does stuff like
half?
this. Because
only half?
All right, more than half. I'd say when he went back to Cleveland, I started to not hate LeBron anymore. So the second time returning to Cleveland, and it wasn't even that like it was like an athlete that I hate, dude. It's just like he beat up on the Celtics all the time.
That's when it turns into respect. Like you just respect it. That's where I got with your boy Tom at some one point where I was just like, I don't have energy to hate this guy anymore. He's just incredible.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people probably felt that way with the Spurs for a little bit too. It's just kind of, except that was a rarity where it was like a whole team that just that whole unit just kept fucking winning. But anyway,
who can hate Tim Duncan?
Yeah, Timmy. Hard to hate Timmy D. But yeah, man, LeBron. Then I mean, AD. We were just talking about it before we hopped on here. Like this dude played himself to sleep. Like he just didn't have it anymore because he played 46 minutes, 37 and 12. But like you said, Jake, both those guys incredible stat lines. Tatum walks away from the game with 44 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Quiet 15 rebounds from Jaylen Brown too. Like Jaylen only had the 25 points, but he was hitting the glass.
Only 25.
Yeah, just 25, 15, and 5 for Jaylen Brown,
Just a casual
average night for him.
Whatever, yeah.
That's what's that? The Jays combined for 69 points. Yep. It's ridiculous. Again, just ridiculous.
Keeping up historic pace of duos scoring in the NBA history.
Yeah, did you guys see that graphic in the first half they put up?
Yeah, they were talking about it last week. Like Russillo, I think, brought it up, and Bill Simmons a couple weeks ago, like just tracking where they're at it's insane. It's crazy to think about. And even if you're adjusting for the era and like the increased scoring and everything else, it's still like the level of dominance from 2 stars, even in this era, we really haven't seen it at all. And I feel like they're getting better still, like every game. And I don't know, Tatum last night is just like, it's been this whole season, but just looking so comfortable with himself on the court and everything. Like last year he knew he had all the tools in the arsenal, but didn't know how and when to deploy everything. And now it just feels like the mental game is finally like caught up, and he's realizing all his powers that he has right now, in lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, it's wild too, and I guess we can touch on the Celtics Warriors thing in a minute when we talk Bucks Warriors here, but it's crazy because pretty much everyone except Steph, like Tatum, anytime he goes up against another superstar, like you can guarantee Tatum's going to have a big night and probably a bigger night than the guy he's going up with. Like we saw with LeBron last night. Like he's one of those guys in the same camp as LeBron that just lives for those moments. Like he goes up against a guy like LeBron. I mean, he probably watched Bron growing up his whole life, stole some things from his game, and now he's giving him 44 on LeBron's home court. Like he's just one of those dudes now, and it's crazy. He's only 24 years old, but
even you want to talk about growing up against him, but even in the league, who's been one of the biggest sides or thorn in LeBron's sides in the last 5 years? Right. You'd have to say it's Jayson Tatum. I mean, literally, went to a conference finals and brought him to the brink, like before he leaves
Dunked
Cleveland,
on
and
him as a rookie,
and then going into this rival. And I mean it when I say Lakers Celtics, because this rivalry, like that rivalry, defined the entire sport for a long time. Like the video game was Magic Bird and it wouldn't have been Magic Bird because of any other 2 teams involved. Like if it was the Nets and the Hawks, it's not the same kind of notoriety. It was these 2 franchises that really carried the NBA into an era where they could flourish. And then Michael Jordan shows up, and that changes absolutely everything, not just in basketball and sports, of how we look at all this stuff and the way we cover it and everything else, but Lakers Celtics really got the NBA there. And I don't think there's another sport that I guess the NHL can kind of say that, but that's 6 teams that they've kind of counted on rotating else. No other sport can really say that. And so it is. And that's what I think those guys, LeBron and Tatum, at the very least, recognize their roles in those legacies just as much as like those guys think about those types of things and recognize those roles. And that's how you kind of get performances like that last night.
Yeah, man, it's bananas just looking at the box score of this game, because it really was like just the Jays versus AD and LeBron, it seems. Obviously, Russ, I think that's unfair because we're always on here pounding the drum for Russ. 20 points and 14 rebounds, and then 5 assists to go along with that. He was the reason they pretty much mounted that comeback. I mean, he was hitting big shots, big dunks, and he was getting out in transition. Like, Steve, I know you were watching Russ closely last night. He had some bad misses in the overtime, but I don't think they would have been there without him.
Well, everyone on the Lakers had bad misses in overtime because they were exhausted because they had all been playing since middle of the third quarter. And LeBron, AD, and Russ played the entire fourth and overtime. You just can't do that, especially when you're playing a team like the Celtics, which is going to, get the best out of you on both ends of the court. But to your point, Donnie, Russ really was kind of the one that spark plugged the comeback because at the first half of this game, Celtics were shooting the ball well. I mean, they were lights out from three. They're up 15, it felt like, the entire second quarter. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to bed early. They're going to blow the Lakers out of the building. And then Russ comes off the bench a little bit in the third, and they start this big comeback. LeBron starts getting, out in transition, making those crazy dunks. And it was really the Lakers defense that helped them mount this comeback to the point where they were up 10 with 3 minutes to go. I think, anyone can read a box score and see the numbers that the Celtics put up, the Lakers put up. But it doesn't really tell the whole story. The Lakers were down big. They came all the way back where they were up 10 with about 3 minutes to go. Yeah. The Staples Center's into it. You're thinking, all right, this is just a classic LeBron big comeback, giant, win over the best team in the NBA right now, the Boston Celtics. The Lakers have finally started to figure things out. They're red hot. The Celtics have no answer for Anthony Davis, for his size down low. And it's a 10-point game with 3 minutes to go. And next thing you know, you see the Celtics force a turnover or, force a bad shot, get the ball out and start making their shots. And I think that tells a lot more about the Celtics team than really anything has this year because we know how talented they are. We know what their roster is. We know how good of a player Jayson Tatum is. And I think we're still learning how good this guy really can be. But to see a team like the Celtics that has been so good all year dominate this game at the start, then give up a lead. I think the Lakers had a 33-6 run somewhere in there where they got the lead back, be down 10 points, come all the way back, force overtime. Oh, by the way, they forced overtime because of Jayson Tatum making a ridiculous, turnaround jumper over LeBron James, and then kind of just beat the Lakers in overtime, who were just drained and out of gas. It's such an impressive win for this Celtics team that was so close last year to winning the championship. Now you got Tatum, who was playing like the MVP, not playing like a MVP, playing like the MVP right now, coming up with ridiculous buckets and having comeback wins like this. This is something, Dunny, I think that's great to see, right? Because as a Celtics fan, you've been killing teams this year. The Celtics have been dominating teams. So, yeah, it's fun when you blow a team out by 20, 30. But to have a game that you had in control, you blow it, you're trailing, and to come all the way back and still get that win on the road in an environment like the Staples Center against LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean, this was sometimes these rivalry games don't live up to expectations. This lived up to expectations and beyond. And I also think, too, this is another eye-opening moment for Jayson Tatum, who every time I'm like, all right, there's no way Tatum can be better than he is now. He finds a way to just keep on climbing. And right now, and you know how much I love Luka Doncic, Tatum's the MVP, and then there's a gap. And I love Luka. Luka put up the numbers, but Tatum's the MVP, and then there's a gap because he just has these moments, it feels like, every single night.
Yeah, the crazy thing is people say they do lose that game and it doesn't go to overtime, so he doesn't eclipse 40 points last night. He played super poorly against the Warriors. They lost. Then he played pretty poorly against the Clippers as well. They lost again. I feel like those 2 days, those two games, people were ready. If he had even close to a bad game, or if they lost this game to the Lakers, people were ready to say, "Oh, he's not the clear front runner anymore," and that would have been fair. I was ready to say that. I tweeted out after the Clippers game, Tatum hasn't been playing like MVP the last two games, and then what does he do? He gets 44, big comeback. You said it. He forces OT. The only thing I didn't like about this game is that I think it was Marv Albert or Reggie Miller, I forget who said it last night, but one of them was like the Celtics avoided losing 3 in a row. The last time they did that was the NBA Finals, and that was just that one stung. But it is crazy, like
that's uncalled for. That was
I was like, what the hell is this,
That's a
dude? We just
shot.
won the game.
Unreal. Yeah, they didn't need that.
Yeah, national broadcast coming at me, but it's perspective, right? Because they dropped two games. The last time they did that was October 24th.
That's a long 6-game West Coast road trip is long though. I think you take coming out of that 4-2 every day of the week. Every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would even be fine going 3-3. Like honestly, like those road trips are so tough on teams, especially like you're coming into the holidays. Like there's so much. That's a long time to be away from home. Like for
especially an Eastern Conference team too, right? As far east as you can go, and LA's pretty much as far west as you can go in the NBA. So to end that road trip on a big win like that, it's huge.
This is my geography. What's up?
No, they asked him because he was the one who pretty much hit the dagger, right? He hit that deep 3 to make it 122 to 114. Yeah. And he did like the ice in my vein celebration when he walked away when the timeout was called. And a reporter after the game asked him like, why the ice in the veins celebration? He was like, I don't even know, man. Like he was like, I'm just trying to get the fuck out of here, to be honest. Like he's like, we just want to go home. Like I wasn't really thinking. He was like, I was just trying to get out of here, get out of this road trip. Like so real, bro. Just celebrating to celebrate. He knew he hit the dagger, but like he had to get out of there.
That's amazing.
That's what West road trips do to a player, I guess.
Even West to East, everybody. Like I can't even imagine. Speaking of that, let's get into Stevie. I need to know what the fuck is going on with your. I'm giving them your Golden State Warriors.
Don't call them your Warriors.
What do you mean? You can't claim the Warriors?
I'd love to claim the Warriors. I think it's unfair for me to try to claim them. I'll claim Steph Curry. I said this every time with the Warriors. Like I can't claim them as a team. I just loved Curry out of college. I'm not gonna jump on the bag. Well, you know me. I'm an NBA fan and I have players. I don't really claim a team. There's definitely teams I root for over others. But the Warriors, I mean, it's been the same story. It's been all year.
How can they beat the
can't win on the road. They can't win on the road this year. The Warriors are a night and day team between what they do in home and what they do on the road. And now what I will say about this game here, and this is coming from an unbiased NBA fan, no Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday does not matter. The Warriors do not match up well against the Milwaukee Bucks. They do not. If the Bucks play the Warriors in the NBA Finals, say that, that happens, Bucks face the Warriors, I'm picking Bucks in 5. Like this Warriors team, they have to shoot lights out to beat this Milwaukee team because the Warriors want to beat you with their outside shooting. They want to, play fast. They want to get forced turnovers. The Bucks are like, we're just going to drive. We're just going to drive on you. We have a lot of dogs. And it's not just Giannis. Bobby Portis coming off the bench. He's averaging a double-double coming off the bench. He's a mismatch for the Warriors. You looked at the Warriors, last night, and we talked about this in the offseason. They don't have anyone who can guard a guy like Giannis. They don't have anyone who can guard a guy.
Who's even the guys that they could, Andrew Wiggins, Andre Iguodala, both were out last night in that game.
Yeah, Wiggins is probably now their best on-ball defender.
Not that it would help. It wouldn't help, but just
not that it would help, but what was crazy to me is that Draymond Green was not the one covering Giannis driving. It was Kevin Looney. You're telling me you think Kevin Looney, and this is no disrespect to Kevin Looney, super underrated, super slept on. He does what the Warriors need him to do. He's not stopping Giannis. He's not stopping Giannis. It's just a bad matchup, and it's a bad matchup for a team that just can't win games on the road. I think the Warriors are 11. I want to say they're 11-2 or something, 11-2 or 12-2 at home and 2-12 on the road. It's been night and day, home games, away games. This team can't travel. We'll see what happens. I'm not too concerned about the Warriors because at the end of the day, they have a great head coach. They got Steph Curry, who's, greatest shooter in NBA history. Klay Thompson has finally started to play a little bit better as of late. Jordan Poole, I like that he's been in the starting lineup. I think he'll be in the starting lineup again tonight. I don't know if Curry's going to play. He was questionable with, I believe it was a knee injury, so we could see just a giant pool party from the Warriors tonight. But regardless, their players are starting to play a little better. We were raving about Wiggins before the injury. It's just this team's defense has been just killing them all year long, and the Bucks are the worst possible matchup you could probably have for this Warriors team. So you take a team that can't win games on the road to begin with and traveling to Milwaukee, and we talked about it with the Celtics Lakers. Some games just kind of mean more to the players and the teams. Now, Giannis is someone I think plays 110% every night, but I feel like when Giannis faces the Warriors, especially at home, or when the Bucks play the Warriors, they're like, we're just going to attack this team because we know we're bigger, we know we're stronger.
Giannis wants to murder anybody. He
That's what I'm saying.
Anybody on the floor, and it's like, you are my mortal enemy right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But it just felt like the Milwaukee Bucks, just even when the Warriors kind of started off decent, they're like, we're just going to be bigger and stronger than you, and we're just going to take the ball to the paint, and that's what they did all night. The Warriors had no answer. So we'll see. I mean, the Warriors have proved us wrong before, right? We're like, oh, this team doesn't really have to build to win a championship. And then Steph Curry and Klay Thompson combined to go 18 for 25 from three. And you're like, oh, the Warriors won that game by 30. So we'll see. They definitely have the players to win that type of basketball, but it's kind of catching up to them a little bit. And if you're not going to play that type of defense against a Milwaukee Bucks team, you're not going to win the game. So I wasn't really surprised by the outcome at all, Jake. And I'm not too concerned with the Warriors because they are the Warriors. But something's got to change on the defensive end because teams have figured out just drive on this team because they have no answer. Draymond's lost a step. He has, and it's killed him defensively.
I'm interested to see where that takes us. Everything you said there, very well said there, Steve. Where everything that you said there, where it takes them in the hierarchy in the West. So I think we can come back to that too when we get to the power rankings. I think that's a greater conversation because the West is a really interesting landscape, and there's a lot of flags you can decide to plant right now. And I think you can defend yourself on thinking any of these teams are the favorite and feel good about it, but we kind of need to decipher who those teams are going to be at some point too. Dunny, do you have anything on the Warriors, or do you want to get to the rest of the news and notes here before we move on to the power rankings? What do you think?
Yeah, just the most telling thing to me, and Steve kind of said it, like the Bucks just look to attack all night, like no matter what angle, no matter what player. And the only other thing I want to say too, like this could have easily been like a 30-40 point game. Like the Warriors had pulled guys, and then the Bucks started pulling guys late. Like this could have got even more out of hand than the box score shows. But something that I loved from the Bucks side of things, and that I hope the Jays and specifically Jaylen Brown can kind of build off next time, or if later on in the season if they see the Warriors and if they see them in the finals again. But Chris Middleton was looking to bully Klay Thompson on both ends of the court, and he was doing it successfully. He blocked his shot one time on a jump shot, and then it seemed every time he had the chance to ISO Klay Thompson, whether it was post fadeaways or driving by him, he was doing it. And you talk about Draymond losing a step. I think that was evident last year. Like Klay obviously has as well, and I think Klay, not as much as Draymond, still a super gifted scorer. Shooting can keep you around in the league way longer than anything else can. I don't think Klay's, I don't think we're hitting a worry button on Klay Thompson, but I mean, he's lost a step. And if you have to rely on Steph to do all of that every single night, it's really not a surprise the record is what it is right now because Steph Curry is the only consistent player they have. Jordan Poole has been inconsistent. He has good games, but it's really only when he's relied on to start. He hasn't been great off the bench. Jermichael Green, which everyone thought was going to be like a great ad for them, he's sucked this year. They don't really get pretty. Like I was trying to think of something else to say, but Jermichael Green has been bad for them. And they just don't really get.
Wiggins has been consistent before the injury. I would say he's the other one. It's not just Curry. Wiggins was great, and not having Wiggins definitely has hurt this team.
It shows,
Yeah, it shows. I mean, they're a bad defense. They've been a bad defense with Wiggins. They're allowing 116 points a game, Donnie. But now you
Yeah,
take
that's
Wiggins out, and what's crazy, right? If we go like maybe a year ago, even 2 years ago, and be like, all right, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, rank them as on-ball defenders. It's Draymond, Klay, Wiggins, right?
yeah.
Now it's Wiggins is probably the best on-ball defender. And that,
Yeah.
you talk about Klay, yeah, maybe his shot has gone down a little bit, but I think you're right. His biggest step that he's lost has been his defense. And the Warriors can't have that right now because they don't really have anyone who's a defensive specialist coming off the bench who can help them.
Well, that's
Kuminga's
the
been
problem. It's supposed
wildly
it's supposed to
inconsistent.
be that guy that you just said, Jonathan Kuminga, and he has not been playing
Wildly
specifically
inconsistent.
because
We're
he's
not
on
even
defense.
we're not even going to talk about James Wiseman, who's who knows what he's doing, and
Kwame
Still
Brown.
worried about the beds.
Jermichael Green's another one you talked about, Donnie. He should help defensively. He
Yeah,
doesn't. Like
he's
it
tough.
just, I don't know. I don't know if they have to maybe bring someone in just for defense alone, or just wait till Wiggins comes back and see if you can figure it out. Because it's not just that like they're not bad because they still have a positive point differential. They're averaging 117 points a game, so they're still the Warriors. They'll still shoot you out of the building. And obviously, when Wiggins comes back, it's going to be an entirely different, looking offense again. It'll go back to what they like to do when they can have Poole come off the bench and basically have 80% usage as their sixth man, which helps them a lot more than having to play Poole with Klay and Curry in the starting lineup. Maybe some things will change like that, but I think unless they figure out the defense, maybe switch up the scheme, switch up matchups, whatever they want to do, or bring someone in, nothing's going to change.
Stevie, it's a 6:35 Eastern, 5:35 Central. I don't know if it's actually at midnight or not that the trades open back up in a couple hours on the 15th. The Warriors will be one of the first teams that make a trade. I guarantee that.
I bet they're in the Jay Crowder sweepstakes, and if they're not, they should be.
They're in the Caruso sweepstakes too. I'm telling you, that's Caruso is going to go somewhere, and he feels like a perfect Warrior for a lot of things you're saying, like on-ball defense, everything else. Like he will bring that kind of energy.
On-ball defense, he can handle the ball on his own. He can still create his own.
I would try to get Drummond. I would try to get Drummond in that deal for the Bulls too, like as just your energy backup big, like and just some size that you can throw out there because it's hard to like. That's not a. I don't think that you can trust Wiseman in that situation.
No. You need someone.
At any point.
You need someone to spell Looney a little bit. I like Kevin Looney. I think he's fine for what he is, but we know what Kevin Looney
plays
is
great in his role. Point. Yeah, he's great in his role, but he can only do so much.
He can only play 25 solid minutes a night either. Kevin Looney's not somebody you want to run out there in a one possession game in the fourth quarter, right? You got to find someone. And that's what they were hoping Wiseman was going to be. That's why they took him second overall. And he's done the opposite of that. So we'll see. I think they do have to make a move because it's not like this team, they're terrible. They're 500. They're 14-14. They are. I looked it up. They're 12-2 at home, 2-12 on the road, which is just a wild split. That is
dumb. Like,
it's the most wild split I've ever seen. I don't know.
Even.
Maybe measure the rims. Maybe just measure the rims a little bit at the Warriors arena. That's all I'm saying. Maybe the ball's going a little easier there. But no, they have to get a defense because this is in every sport. Defense is what travels. Sometimes offense can be inconsistent, but defense is usually the one that'll travel. And the Warriors have arguably a bottom 5 defense in the NBA right now, right? I don't think that's unfair to say. And how'd they win the NBA Finals last year? How'd they win the NBA Finals last year? They had a top 3 defense from the second half of the season on. We talk about what the Celtics did with their defense last year. The Warriors did the same thing. That's how they won the championship. So the Warriors, if any team or any organization is going to be able to fix their problems and get it right, it's Steve Kerr and this Warriors team. But
maybe you just said the piece that needed to say is that the second half of the year they were one of the best defenses, and we are not yet to the second half of this season. So maybe the Warriors.
We're just got past like a quarter. Yeah, we're like a third, almost a third, right?
We're
28 games. Yeah.
After Christmas, I feel like everything's real. Like everything is real about your team after Christmas. That's when we start knowing who's gonna start selling off anything. Dunny, you want to finish off news and notes, or you want to get into the power rankings?
Yeah. So the only real other news, LaMelo Ball could return tonight, but I mean, I don't know how much that matters. Talk about teams that need to make trades. The Hornets.
Talk about teams that don't know how to play defense. The Hornets.
Yeah, they're bottom 5 in everything, not just defense. So I mean, exciting. At least they'll probably sell a few more tickets on a nightly basis with LaMelo back in the lineup. I mean, if you're LaMelo Ball, you gotta you gotta be wanting out of Charlotte. I don't know if you guys saw this a couple of weeks ago. Like Gordon Hayward's wife was speaking out about the organization, like making him play injured and stuff. There is just we know the Miles Bridges situation, the James Book
it's bad, but
the summer.
You have to bring back your coach that you fired like 6 years later. You're in.
Yeah.
Like there's something going wrong there in Charlotte with whatever Michael Jordan is running up that show, because it's pretty chaotic.
Yeah, and then the only other thing is Joel Embiid. I saw this interesting quote on Twitter, and I think it probably got taken a little bit out of the context, but Embiid apparently believes Philly fans want him traded, which I thought was interesting. The quote came from Jake Fisher, so I went to his Twitter, and basically here was the whole thing. I don't know, Embiid said, shrugging. Sixers fans, they want to trade me. The 28-year-old grinned wide. His laugh filling the space. There's that twinkle in Embiid's eye when he's ready to unwind and talk. They say you don't believe that. He said, I do believe that. They want to trade me. They don't want to trade you. They want certain people to be relieved of their duties, certain people to depart the franchise. So basically, Embiid, I don't know whether he was joking or not, they seem to make it seem like he was joking, laughing it off. They want to trade me. Reporters insinuating that no, in fact, Sixers fans actually want Doc Rivers to be relieved of his duties, is what I think this quote was getting at. So
yeah. I think it's just good of knowing how self-aware Joel Embiid is around fans in Philly and dealing with them. Yeah.
Yeah, Embiid. I mean, if we're being honest here, Philly fans are crazy across all sports, right?
Yeah.
They're nuts. Like they go up and down. They want people gone. They want people fired left to right. Embiid is someone that they want to keep there as much as possible. I'm sorry, there may be 1% of Philly fans who are like, oh yeah, Embiid should be traded. What, to get value for him, to rebuild? Embiid is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
You want to know what I think? I think Philly fans don't care anything about the Sixers right now. The fucking Birds are 11-1.
Jalen Hurts MVP.
Jalen Hurts might be MVP. I guarantee you. I lived in Philadelphia, boys. I don't know if you knew this. I lived there for 8 months.
I didn't know that.
And I promise you, it is all Birds at the moment right now over everything.
It should be. They're 12-1. They're second shortest odds to win the Super Bowl. Hurts the MVP favorite. Like, it should be the Birds.
If JoJo wants to get traded, that's what he needs to do, is show up to Philly in a like Dak Prescott jersey or something.
Yeah. Seriously.
That's like walk into the next home game just wearing like a jersey. That would really get people going.
We'll talk about Embiid a little bit. Like, I think there's nothing there. It's definitely interesting though. Like, Philly sits right now the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, so like there shouldn't be any thoughts about blowing anything up right now. But I mean, the Doc rumors have been looming for years, it seems. Harden's back in the mix playing well, but who knows how that will end up. But I'm going to be talking about Embiid towards the end of the podcast here. Let's get into the HHH power rankings. Happy Hour Hoops has the power rankings once again this week. Pretty similar as the last couple weeks. Celtics first, New Orleans Pelicans second. Yeah, this is the best note right here. Everyone's darling, that is for sure. 18-9, the New Orleans Pelicans. They're upsetting Suns fans. They're getting feisty with their wins. Zion was banging dunks with seconds left.
That was the best that Zion did that because of how the Suns treated the Pelicans. When they eliminated them. And you know what? And I'm fine with it, Dunny. I'm tired of people being like, don't showboat. Everyone wants to see Zion dunk. You're telling me when you get Zion wide open dunk that he shouldn't take it? No, everyone wanted to see that. I'm glad he did that.
Someone made a great point.
It just shows how much he cares about like his teammates, right? Even though he wasn't, part of the team during the playoff run last year, obviously was out with an injury. Like he cares about his guys, and he knows that something special can happen with this team. I was fine with it. I hate people who get upset.
When
at
did
that stuff.
basketball turn into baseball?
Yeah,
What are we doing here?
Yeah,
like we're getting mad at people celebrating that home run pitches. Like, no, we're not doing this. He can dunk if he wants to.
I want to see dunks. That's fine.
I think also, man. The Suns they weren't playing no defense. No one was chasing down Zion, trying to foul him, do nothing. What are we talking about?
I forget, someone on the Pelicans said that, I believe. I think they were like, if they want us to stop scoring, they should try playing defense or something like that. But yeah, so Pel's second, Bucks third. Surprise there. Grizzlies 4. Jaren Jackson Jr., man, he's a difference maker. We knew this, and the Grizzlies quietly, just being one of the better teams in the NBA, and probably not really getting the credit they deserve.
Just wait till they get Bane back too.
Yeah,
just wait till they get Bane back too.
Bane is weirdly, as much social media attention as John Morant draws, like, people love Desmond Bane. And not saying that I don't or he doesn't deserve it, but it is kind of crazy. Like, Desmond Bane just came on the scene last year, and the shooting he had to start this season was like the best he's looked. But I feel like social media, Twitter,
he might be like turning
Desmond
into
Bane.
a top 5 2 guard right in front of our eyes, though. And that's what I see with it, is he could be like right behind the tier below Booker and by the end of this year, if he's consistently this productive. Because I feel like the 2 guard is a weird position right now, because either if you're a guard, you're either handling the ball or you're just big enough to be a wing where you don't handle the ball. Like 2 guards, there's not a lot of like pure.
There's no traditional 2.
It's everybody's a combo guard basically.
Book is the prototype, and like,
but even Book without
be
Paul,
a combo guard. Yeah,
with Paul being out, he was running the offense. It was everything was running through him.
Yeah.
This is the one question. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, just trying to like even think of one is like so hard. Zach LaVine, I guess. Like,
LaVine's up there, Beal's up there, like those kind of guys.
Beal is actually the prototype. Yeah.
Tyler Hero, but he plays
get out of here. Get that out of here. Get out of here.
And like James Harden,
Kevin Herter over Tyler Hero.
James Harden to me used to be. James Harden to me used to be the prototype for a shooting guard, but then he just got so good that like he became such a good facilitator too. So he's considered a point guard.
He's way too good of a playmaker.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell is a 2 guard right now.
But like even him, like he facilitated. Like when Garland was out, he was. Yeah, it's just crazy.
That's why I didn't think about
how
him
good
initially.
These guys are. Oh yeah, and yeah, Cavs at number 5 as well. Jake, they're still here in the power rankings.
Big game tonight against Stevie's Mavericks and his boy Luka, and my brother who's gonna be texting me talking shit all night about Luka too. I'm sure. I don't care.
Luka against those smaller guards, 40, 15, and 12 incoming.
The Cavs are the best team at home in the league, and they are on the road tonight, 5-9 only. This is gonna be fun though, because they're playing them tonight, and I know Luka and Mitchell are gonna talk shit, and it's gonna be something because they got chippy before in the past. And the Cavs, it's going to be a great game tonight, and they also play their Saturday night in Cleveland. It's 2 games in like 4 days they play. The Cavs play Indiana on Friday night too. But so they play really close together. So it's gonna be a fun couple days there.
Jake, so is your brother not a Cavs fan?
He does like the Cavs, but he's also a big Luka guy. So I know he's
a Luka guy. Every time I post something about Tatum, he's in my ear about Luka.
This is why he is such a big Luka guy, but in his mind, because he's a Luka guy, he has to also be an anti-Tatum guy. Like there's no difference between those two.
That's what I love about Steve, because I feel like he's the few and far between Luka fans who just appreciate Tatum for what it is.
Have to.
I have no hate for Luka. I think that's a weird.
It's a weird rivalry to
national stand. Right? Yeah. It's like it's weird that the national media has like even made that like because they're such different players too. But I think
there's too many good. There's too many good guys.
There's too many good young guys.
There's too many good players to put one guy versus one. Like I can't. I want to talk about Giannis. I want to talk about Jokic.
They're not really. They're not really villains anymore, right? Like I'll tell you, I love Durant from his Texas days or his Texas year, and then always watched him at OKC, always rooted for KD. So I was anti-LeBron, kind of like you, Donnie, where you were anti-LeBron because of your Celtics love. I was just
And also
anti-LeBron.
KD.
And I always rooted against him. Yeah, and I get why, with the whole move with KD, and I understand that when he went to the Warriors, he became the villain. Not for me, because I always loved KD, but like he was the villain NBA players at. But you look at these younger players, right? Does Jokic really have a lot of people that hate him? Embiid, Giannis, Luka, Tatum. These are like 5 of the, you can even throw Ja Morant up there, Zion. These are some of the best young superstars in the NBA. None of them are really like a villain or have that, I hate them type of fan base.
The only one.
That's what I'm saying.
Is the number one villain in all of basketball.
He's like the only one too, especially out of the young guys. I mean, like
no. You know who is the number one? It's Draymond is the number one villain.
Well, yeah. I'm talking superstars here, Jay. Come on. But no, I'm really talking about these younger superstars. I think you're right, Donnie. Outside of Trae Young, there really isn't a true villain. Now, will that change if, let's say, the Celtics win the next 2 NBA championships? Donnie, this is hypothetical. Don't get ideas. But, if they win the next 2 championships, then a lot of people, I think, are going to turn anti-Tatum, just rooting against him.
Let's be honest. There's a lot of people out there that are already anti-Tatum just because they hate the Celtics, too.
Yeah,
there's a large sect of people that are just
I'd say he's probably second under Trae Young, villain-wise, just because, I mean, people were up in arms about him, about all his tributes that he paid to Kobe last year.
That's true.
I mean, you guys saw Skip Bayless the other day. Tatum had 2 bad games in a row.
Oh my god!
And he was like, I don't know if he has the it factor.
It couldn't have aged better.
The same night he poached 44 on LeBron.
Yes, but
with the buzzer beater. Well,
Skip always wins, bro, because now
because then he painted it on LeBron.
LeBron, you're washed, bro. Tatum worked you over.
Nobody's better at spin zoning than Skip. No one. No one's better at spin zoning than him.
Skip followed it up with saying that he thinks Jaylen Brown is actually the better player because he explodes to the rim like MJ did. Which I agree with. He explodes the closest to MJ than anyone I've ever seen. And that is a fact. And I've tweeted that a few times, and no one ever piggybacks that statement. No one gives me any credit. Jaylen Brown floats like
he's
MJ
terrifying.
Sometimes.
I agree with that. I don't want to bring up last night's game again, but did you see the dunk he tried to throw down? That if Russ didn't get a hand on it, that would have been the dunk of the year. That was an attempt. I thought that at a regular season game.
I was like, what are you doing?
He's a sicko. He's a sicko.
He's a psychopath, bro. He really is. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I guess Tatum could be considered.
I think Tatum's up there. LeBron's always up there too, just because people hate LeBron.
Do you think Giannis could ever get there?
Mickey. Giannis is up there right now.
I think Giannis
is getting some hate this year.
Yeah. He wants it. Well, he did knock over that ladder, which we did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're coming like full circle, kind of. We're talking about how crazy Philly fans are. They don't even need any ammo to have a villain. And Giannis gave him.
Giannis wants to walk. He wants to walk into Philly and have everybody raining boos on him, and then he's gonna put up 40 and 19 and 7, and then he eats that shit up. My brother, I texted him. I said, cheering for the Cavs or Mavs. He said Luka dropping 35, but Cavs win. So he's
he's living in his perfect world.
He's living the dream. That's a good bet. Honestly, I could make right now. It's Luka 35, Cavs money line. I don't like that.
What's the spread? Cavs got to be slightly favored, right? I think it was Dallas,
3.5, maybe. No, it's Dallas 2.5.
Dallas is favored. Okay,
it's not surprising.
No,
the Cavs are I said. Cavs 12-2 at home, 5-9 on the road.
Yeah, It's in Dallas. That line will be swapped on
Dallas.
Saturday,
the same thing. They're 11-4 at home, 3-9 on the road. Honestly, when you look at the NBA standings, nobody can play on the road. Basically,
I think it's the Celtics, Jazz, and Pelicans. I think
the Celtics are 11-5 on the road.
Yeah, I think
Milwaukee's 7-4, pretty solid. You said the Jazz
and Pelicans, I think, are the other 2 good ones.
The Pelicans are 6-6, but the Nuggets and Blazers are both 8-6 and 9-7, respectively, on the road.
Well, that's because
They're
the
just mid
Nuggets have
everywhere.
no home court advantage. They have to.
Maybe I'm tripping. I thought, I'm seeing that too. Yeah, I think Nuggets
Maybe
is who I was
earlier in the
thinking
year or
of.
whatever, but
Yeah, Jazz
it's
started good on the road.
like the Pelicans have already played 15 games at home compared to like some of these splits are a little off too. Anyways, you don't need to talk about that. But it is a trend early in this season. It feels like I don't know, man. This is the main thing I wanted to talk about with the power rankings before we go to anything else here. Was about the Pelicans and the no, we're not. I don't want to talk about that. We put them in there.
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
They're recognized.
They have
exactly. They are mentioned
mention.
honorably. They are mentioned honorably. That's what we will give the Nets. The
Wait,
Pelicans.
guys,
go ahead.
Our other honorable mention, and
that's a part of this. That's a part of this too.
Okay,
too.
Yes, please.
Because the Pelicans and Grizzlies are right now the top two teams in the West in our power rankings and in the thing. Before we had the Suns dropping out of the top 10 from 2 all the way to our honorable mention section here. The West is just like, to me, it feels like the Pelicans and Grizzlies. Like if you sim in 2K, those are the two teams that are going to be 1 and 2. It feels like they are the two teams built to be the long withstanding powers in the conference. And maybe this is the year that this shift actually happens. But as we look at it right now, every team about 25 games in, do you guys believe that? Do you believe that the Pelicans and Grizzlies are a tier ahead of, like we have them ahead of the Suns right now, the Warriors that you mentioned? I wanted to bring the Warriors back up in this. Like at the end of the season, are they really going to belong there, or are they going to come back down to the pack with the Warriors, the Suns, the Nuggets, and those teams?
So what you're saying, Jake, is that Stevie Southwest wasn't so crazy in the preseason after all. Praising.
We both went over on the Pelicans and the Grizzlies.
Oh no, I know, but there wasn't a bigger stand, I think, for the Pelicans and the Grizzlies than me. And I mean, I don't know if they're going to separate themselves, because I think there's a lot of teams in the West that can improve. The Clippers have just not really played with their full core more than like 20 minutes during a game at a time. And I think they'll get healthier as the year goes on. The Warriors, we'll see what happens with them, but I'm never going to doubt the Warriors. But if we're looking at these Western Conference teams that, could make moves, get better, the Pelicans are still like not playing with their full team. Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones have been, injured the past few weeks. You look at the Grizzlies, they have not played a game yet this year with Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson. And Desmond Bane probably won't come back till sometime in January. So these teams are winning right now with kind of banged up, rosters, and they're still playing great. Ja, who not struggled, I would say, but hasn't playing to the type we thought Ja was for a little portion of this year. Now he's starting to come back into his own. It helps that Jaren Jackson's back. And then you look at the Pelicans, where we talk about this every time we come on this podcast. It's a different guy every night, it feels like, with the Pelicans. And now Zion is looking like Zion. Just keep him healthy, please, because he's one of the most electric players in the NBA. I think the West will probably get a little tighter, but I would not be shocked in the slightest if the year ends and it's 1-2 Pelicans, Grizzlies in whatever order. I don't think that's crazy, because we talk about all these Western teams are like, they dealt with injuries, maybe add some new pieces, improve. Well, the Pelicans and the Grizzlies have not been at full strength basically the entire season, and they're still, winning the games the way they are. So I have to, give credit to both of them. I expected to see both of them play really well this year, so I'm not shocked. But to have it this early in the year, where they're first and second, when they don't have their full, rosters, it's very impressive. It really is. I don't know if it's going to be a gap, because I think the West is just going to be a very, very tight race. I think, honestly, you could see the 1 seed and the 8 seed in the West at the end of the year be separated by like 5 games.
Yeah.
But I think they're the two best teams in the West right now.
1 and 11 is only separated by 5 games right now,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And usually as the year goes on, you see it disperse a little bit. But I think the West is going to be pretty tight for the majority of the season. There's a lot of good teams that all have their own, little issues, to see if they can fix them as the year goes on.
Is it possible the Phoenix Suns are a playing team by the end of the year?
Playing's a stretch.
They still are. They still have one of the best point differentials.
Just posing the question.
That's where I'm still at with them. Is they still have one of the best point differentials, and Booker is still a top 10, 12 player.
They lost to the Rockets when they didn't have Booker, though. That's all I'm saying. It seems like they
without Booker, if something happened to Booker or his play level dropped at all, they would fall off a cliff.
It didn't help. Mikal Bridges went 4 of 24 from the field either. As someone who I really like, but without Booker, you saw he just couldn't really handle that type of volume shooting.
They still also have whatever comes of a Jay Crowder deal, and whatever they decide to make that move, they're gonna either whatever comes directly from that, or that they spin into another deal for themselves. There's something waiting to happen with them, I think.
I just don't like the vibes of them right now. I think
I don't either. Remember all the shit that happened around the organization. Like they're in the middle of trying to get sold and shit like that. There's stuff going on bad.
DeAndre Ayton shit.
Right.
CP3 has sucked since he came back. I mean, it just they just go as Book goes. I mean, we talk I agree, Steve. Like Mikal Bridges is unbelievable on ball defender. He's coming along as a great scorer too, but it just seems like they're missing something, and the chemistry worries me. And it was evident during those back-to-back Pelicans games where they got embarrassed, they got flustered, and then they were the ones who looked like assholes because they were crying about it, and then they got beat again. It's like, dude, you could
have lost 5 in a row right now.
Yeah, I thought they would have stood up after that first Pelicans game.
I thought so too.
And I thought we'd at least see a battle. They had no fight, so that's the only reason I posed the question. I don't think it will happen, but I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I mean, it's not hard to imagine.
If you're going to complain about Zion dunking, if you're going to complain about the Pels rubbed it in, then answer. Then actually play good the next game. You can't say anything now.
They didn't even really care. They complained after the fact. In the moment, who came up? Who went? I mean, first of all, as a smart human being, I would never run up on Zion Williamson, but show some initiative, do something. You know who would have done that's when you need a Pat Beverly, just someone too stupid for their own good to go at least say something. They didn't care, and that's the scariest thing in the world. When you get a team like that just doesn't, that you can't, if you can't get up for something like that in that next game, and I mean it is a worrying trend. It could slip away from them. Booker, I would bet on Booker, but I mean, the Blazers are still playing well. You've got a lot of teams in even the West play-in teams right now. The Kings, Jazz, Mavs, Warriors. I mean,
it's pretty good.
That's a pretty good group. It's a pretty good group right there.
And then the Lakers, I know they're out of it right now, but they've been playing better. And if LeBron and AD are healthy, you'd at least expect them to sneak into the play-in, right?
I think so. I think they're going to be back around there. All right, let's get to the Coach of the Year stuff.
Joe Mazzulla,
checking in our corner. It's Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla is number one. But we gotta give some props to some other guys around.
All right,
we got to. Now, Joe Mazzulla has been done. We've talked a lot about the Celtics. Dunny, I'll let you step in here to talk about Mazzulla, though. Give what you've seen. Just what's been different. Has there been seen anything different or heard anything?
He's an absolute
different?
Psychopath.
Okay. Well, there you
go. Joe Mazzulla is a psychopath, bro, and in the best way possible. That is said with the utmost respect, love, backing. He has my support 1,000%. But he's crazy. He is certified crazy, dude. You can just see the look in his eyes and the way he chews his gum at 1,000 miles per hour for the whole entire game.
Yeah, very intensely. His jaw must be crazy, so strong.
Dude, he probably has the same power bite as a hippopotamus. But dude, he's just on the sideline there, never breaks character. Apparently he told the Jays and Smart, Jayson Tatum mentioned it, he went down the line after the Clippers and Warriors losses and basically told them they played like shit, straight up. That's what Tatum said. He didn't mince words, he didn't paraphrase. He said they were playing like shit, and this team goes as those guys go. And what do you see? You get a response because he's a great coach, and he's just so unconventional that it works. Like we saw during their huge winning streak to start the season, there was practice days where they just did a walk around and shot free throws and went home. And reporters asked, why aren't your guys practicing today? He's like, practice doesn't always have to be 5-on-5, layup drills, what have you. he just has, and it's something within Celtics Twitter. I don't know if it's made its way to NBA Twitter as a whole yet, but we're calling it Missoula ball. And he just has this interesting style. He knows the type of scores and the abundance of scores that they have on this team. He just lets them play freely, shoot as many threes as you want if they're good looks. I know he's big on that. And then, we saw it a couple times last night. When other teams go on runs, he is very different from other coaches in the sense that he doesn't call timeouts when the Celtics opponent is on a 12-2 or a 14-0 or a 16-5 run. He lets the guys play, especially if both the Jays are in the game or if it's just one of them. But traditionally, if it's both the Jays, he will just let them play through it, get the points back, start hitting your threes. And it's just crazy. At 34 years old, youngest coach in the NBA, he looks like the most confident coach as well, and everything's working. So that's why I think he's a psychopath, but it works.
Well, he is a psychopath, but he is definitely the coach of the year so far. But I do think
you got an honorable mention.
Well, Willie Green has to be mentioned, and he will probably be second place or in that first place discussion with it. That job that we saw at the end of last year with a never fully healthy team with the Pelicans, and then getting CJ acclimated so quickly, them having that series with the Suns, everything involved with last year, then carrying it into the momentum and everything we kind of just talked about. He is playing those pieces and playing them out beautifully. They're playing great basketball, really fun basketball, great defense. They have so many different ways to use their roster. So I think he's going to get talked about. JB Bickerstaff will get talked about again at the top. He's not going to get it this year compared to either of those guys, but the job that he's done just over the past couple of years with Cleveland, and I think this year with a roster that they're doing, they haven't been disappointed really at all this year. He's got to get mentioned. I really love Rick Carlisle for this, just because we love our guys, Mathurin and
the Pacers are playing better than we thought, right?
We thought people thought they'd be top 5 worst teams in the league
easily. It was a Wembanyama sweepstakes for them, and they're in the play-in right now. And not only that, they've been fighting for a playoff spot all year long. So I don't think that's crazy to put Carlisle up there, Jay.
I like them as much. I like them better, maybe not more than the Raptors, but I like them better than Atlanta and Miami right now in that play-in too. They're a team that you really can see a lot of positives in. And then Jacques Vaughn, who we have to talk about, that's the only time I talk about the Nets, is if he pulls them into a top 4 seed after all this year, he's got to get mentioned for dealing with the mess and just the respect it seems that they have for him. It's been buttoned up in Brooklyn since Jacques Vaughn has shown up. And maybe everybody just decided they need to get in line. Really. Exactly. Yeah. It's
outside of the Kyrie stuff, obviously,
but even since then, since that happened, and I really think Kyrie did not think it was gonna blow up like it did. I think that he was just too dumb to even realize what was going on. And I'm not trying to be rude. That's just, I feel like, shit happens, and that's how we ended up where we are. But they have handled that very well to move on and be playing this kind of basketball afterwards. It's pretty impressive.
Can I give one more name, Jake?
Yeah.
It's not in the doc. It's one more name. Will Hardy for the Utah Jazz. And the only reason I'm going to bring it up, a Jazz, I think if we're going to go Carlisle with the Pacers, right, I think the Jazz were in that same category. We talked about in the preseason. We thought this was going to be a bottom 5 team that was going to trade everyone throughout the year. And their roster, you look at their roster, Jordan Clarkson, who was a 6-man, he's a great scorer. Lauri Markkanen, who really never found his footing for the Bulls or the Cavs. You got Colin Sexton. You got a lot of guys who are just kind of, they're afterthoughts, right? They're decent players, but it's nothing special. And he's turned this Jazz into a formidable basketball team. This is after that they got a trillion draft picks for Rudy Gobert. They lose their franchise player in Donovan Mitchell. And Will Hardy, who this is his first head coaching experience, has made this Jazz team with a bunch of just guys and made them not a contender, but a team that's good enough in the West to make a playoff, get into the playoffs if they want. And so if we're going to put Carlisle there for the Pacers, I feel like Will Hardy is right in that category as well.
Yes, another dude who's also 34 years old. He's only 5 months. I just looked it up. He's only 5 months older than Joe Mazzulla.
Crazy. He's young coaches, man.
And both those guys were
probably
on.
knew Sean McVay. That's probably what it was.
And both those guys were assistant coaches on the Boston Celtics last year. Also crazy.
The Celtics just breed talent, man. What can I say? You know,
and Hardy,
that's when you say things like that is how Jayson Tatum ends up the second most hated player in the NBA.
Hardy's a Popovich guy, right? He's from the Popovich tree, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe
so.
So
is Ime, and then
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously Missoula is very new to all this, but.
Crazy, man. All right, while we're talking about awards, before we give some flowers, you guys want to talk about the brand new, well, there's one brand new award, and then every other award has brand new names.
Do you agree with all the names? That's what I want to ask.
I have one complaint. I think the names are all right, but if you're naming trophies, how do you not find something for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah.
My brother, I'm bringing him back up because he brought him up for MVP right away. I was like, Jordan, like that's. I get
Jordan. When everyone talks about the GOAT, Michael Jordan, right? But how does Kareem? Like he has the most MVPs. He's won multiple championships. He's the all-time points scoring leader. LeBron will probably pass him this year, but how do you not have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? It's somewhere in here. That's my only complaint.
Or at least rename, start doing a trophy for the scoring title or something, and the Kareem Award. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
I mean, people
even offensive. I think there's been people talking a lot. I've seen the past couple of years wanting an Offensive Player of the Year award, MVP being different than Offensive Player of the Year. You can have an award for stats, an award for literally most valuable, and do it like that. That would be a perfect Kareem Award too.
That'd be the Steph Curry Award. For being honest.
People are upset about the new clutch player, it not being Kobe because the Jerry West trophy.
Kobe's got the All-Star MVP. Yeah. He already has a trophy named after him.
I know that's what people were the most mad about. It's where's Kobe? It's dude, they kind of did their thing.
They did that. That's a big that's the only trophy player trophy handed out for All-Star Weekend, which is. All-Star Weekend's the biggest deal in the NBA. The NBA is All-Star Weekend laps.
Yeah, it's not the Pro Bowl for the NFL, man. They actually buy in. They love going to this. People get mad when they're left out.
It's a fun weekend.
Oh, it's awesome.
A great weekend.
Yeah. But you know what? My biggest thing is and I might be in the minority on this, and we probably could have avoided all the controversy if we just didn't do this. I'm not against the names, but I also am not crazy about it. I think it's kind of cool, but I don't even know if we really had to do this.
No,
I don't know if they all needed to be named.
I kind of agree with you a little bit. It feels a little unnecessary. I mean, I guess it's kind of, I don't know, giving respect to legends of the game, right? Hakeem Olajuwon getting Defensive Player of the Year. He's probably the most underrated player of people this generation now just don't think of him that way. So I get that, but I know what you mean. I mean, most improved George Mikan. I couldn't even I know who George Mikan is. I know.
He did make a big jump. He did make a big jump.
But it's not someone anyone today is going to be talking about George Mikan.
But here's
I like that they attach names.
What they're doing, that hockey obviously none of their awards are named. They're all named after players and stuff. If we start calling the MVP the Jordan, that'll be sick. But I feel people are just going to call it the MVP all the time. We're calling DPOY the Hakeem from now on. That sounds sick. But
that
if they're
is
calling it Defensive Player of the Year,
the Rookie of the Year, the Will,
4 Hakeems.
Because in hockey, and that's what I mean. Because in hockey, you don't say you would never say MVPs. You'd say Sidney Crosby has 4 Hart trophies. You just naturally would say something like that. So if it comes like that, that's how we start talking about it. I think I would kind of like that. What were you gonna? I cut you off, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think that makes perfect sense. My whole thing is, though, I just like that there's names attached to it because it just pays respect to legends of the game. And I like that they used, a lot of older players that, like I said, a lot of people this generation now, or a lot of basketball fans now, probably wouldn't recognize a lot of these names. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're gonna recognize the name. You're okay, John Havlicek, George Mikan, whatever. but it's not going to click in your head like, oh, I remember that guy because you weren't alive for it. So it is kind of cool. So when you see something like that, when you're like, oh, this guy's been balling out, and then you see the trophy name, you're like, oh, this guy must have been doing it the best back in the day. So that's the only thing I like about it. But I think to Dunny's point too, unless we start calling them by the names, I feel like I'm still just going to say, okay, Tatum's the favorite for MVP. I'm not going to say Tatum's the favorite for the MJ.
Oh no! See, maybe that's what we need to start then, because I feel like that would be so much more fun.
I hadn't thought about that. MJ honestly might be the worst one to call by name. Like they're like the sixth man being the Havlicek. Like the when you guys said the Hakeem, that is sick.
The Havlicek would be hilarious. Like Jordan Clarkson, the Havlicek award.
Yeah,
exactly.
Somewhere out there, Lou Will's got to be a little pissed, right? Definitely. Like obviously, these list of legends, like they're not going to have the MJ, the Hakeem, the Will, the Mike in, the Jerry West, and then the Lou Will. But like people have been saying for years, the Sixth Man of the Year award is the Lou Will trophy. So he's got to be a little salty.
Do you think these would ever change? This is way down the road. They'd ever change, or kind of like with hockey, they just keep the names.
I've been calling for hockey to change theirs up for like years now, honestly. So I would, I think eventually you would update.
I would think so, right?
Yeah.
It's weird because like I agree too, but then like what ones would they change? Like someone, I feel like
I wouldn't change I don't think that Jordan will ever change, but I think you could change honestly. Maybe the rest of them if you wanted to.
Someone would have to be like such a good six man for like so long for them.
I think you could change it. It could be like Manu even. It could be like someone like from our era that they just like don't like instead of going back like in 20 years, they like go 20 years back or something like that.
But it'd be such a weird one to like change the most improved. Like we'd have to like this person would have to go from like averaging like 5 points a game to like 28 to take that name away.
The Isaac Okoro award.
Nobody wants that award.
Nobody.
Oh yeah, I got another Okoro. That's what they're gonna start calling it in like 50 and over men's league trophies, dude.
Honestly, I think if I ever start like or play in a basketball league of any sort in my life, that's got to be the MVP trophy.
Yeah, just gonna rep an Okoro jersey too.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna wear 35 the rest of my life, not for KD.
Oh, it's such a good number too. Disappointing. All right, you guys down to give some flowers here to end the show?
We've been doing? I always want to give flowers, Donnie.
I put some big names in here. Steve, I'm guessing you're the one who threw in this non-big name.
Oh no, that was me.
Oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I got a couple names. I didn't put them in the document. I got a couple names. You want to start, Jake? You want to start with your guy?
Dante Aldama, baby.
Oh, that's a great name. That's a great name.
Such a great name. And also this guy literally came out of nowhere and is filling such a huge role for them. He was starting at the beginning of the year for when JJJ's role. He has a strap, literally shooting almost, I think he's shooting like 36% from three right now this year out of nowhere. He just does everything for them. And just a guy that is going to be around the league now forever playing on winning teams. So I just want to give a shout. When you're watching Grizzlies games, he's going to do some like 3 huge plays. He's averaging almost a block and a steal every game right now. Like the dude is all over the floor. Like he's a defensive menace. Offensively, he can pretty much do everything, getting about 6 rebounds a game off the bench. He's so fun to watch on that team. And then my other pick was easy. It was Zion. And I think you mentioned it earlier, just talking about how fun. The Ringer put out their league pass rankings today. Zion was the #1 player on the league pass rankings. He's literally like, I watch every Pelicans game almost. Pretty much, if the Pelicans are on, I will tune in for at least a quarter of the Pelicans. And a lot of that is just wanting to see Zion maybe do some crazy shit live. Like,
as you should.
Last night, I finished. We did a cap episode later, so the game I watched, I saw Bucks Warriors blowout, okay, whatever, and watched just straight to the end of the Pelicans Jazz because I was like, oh man, like I get to lock in with the Pelicans for like a full half of basketball. Sign me up. So Zion's been a treat, and we don't need to talk more about the Pelicans on this podcast, but just off at the end there. Go ahead, Steve.
I got a couple names that aren't on here, and the first one is we talked about this team's a disaster. This team's going to be bottom 5, but doesn't mean that a player's not balling. Kelly Oubre has scored 20 points or more in his last 8 games and 10 of his last 11. He's averaging over 25 a game during that stretch. And Kelly Oubre, the only thing I remembered really about Kelly Oubre at the start of his career is he was the guy that just became a meme that girls were obsessed with. They're like, "Oh, Kelly Oubre is the most gorgeous
thing, bro."
Yeah, but that's how he became like popular in my head. Where it's like, "Oh, he's just the guy girls are obsessed with." Is Kelly Oubre? I was like, he's probably just an average guy, just a role player, nothing great. And his start of his career, that's kind of how it turned out to be. This guy can ball. And I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
The Charlotte Hornets, who have been without LaMelo for a good chunk of this year. Terry's been all right. He's been a little inconsistent here and there. And then Gordon Hayward has been hurt. Kelly Oubre has really kind of taken that load offensively, and he's done a great job with it. Now, the Hornets as a team, kind of a disaster right now, kind of a dumpster fire. But Kelly Oubre is really making a name for himself as someone who can really help any type of team. He's a great winger. He can shoot the ball pretty well. He's been decent on the boards lately, too, and he's someone who will look in the Hornets, late game, he's running the offense. So I got to give Kelly Oubre some flowers there. And then the other one here, we always talk about the other side of this deal. We always talk about it because we all love him. We all love Tyrese Halliburton. But Domantas Sabonis has been playing fantastic basketball as of late. And the Sacramento Kings, who have been pretty good this year, and, they've been all right lately, De'Aaron Fox has struggled the last 2-3 weeks. I think he's dealing with an injury. His shot has been wildly inconsistent, but the Sacramento Kings offense is still playing well, and that's because of Sabonis. This year, averaging 17 points, over 11 rebounds, and over 6 assists a game. He's been playing even better as of late when De'Aaron Fox has kind of, been inconsistent. It's been Sabonis, and we always talk about Tyrese Halliburton. We always talk about him, how the Pacers have a bright future or whatnot. But everything, when the deal happened, everyone was just shitting on Sacramento. How can you do that? How can you do that awful deal? And I agree. You shouldn't trade away Tyrese Halliburton. But they got a damn good player in return. I know they got a little package, but Domantas Sabonis, very, very good player. So underrated. I call him, and I don't think this is an insult, I call him the Walmart version of Jokic, because that's what he is, right? Like he's not Nikola Jokic. He's not a back-to-back MVP, but he can do everything that Nikola Jokic can do. And Sabonis, he can shoot a little bit. He can dribble a little bit. He's a great playmaker, actually very underrated playmaker that a lot of people sleep on. And he's a monster on the glass. I think his last 5 games, 10, 12, 18, 15, 17 rebounds. He's finally starting to score a little more, averaging around like 20 the last couple weeks. So I got to give Sabonis some flowers, because you guys know I love my Pacers. We love the Pacers. We always hype up Halliburton. But the Kings, they didn't give Halliburton away for nothing. Sabonis was a great player in return, and he's been a huge help to their team. So Kelly Oubre, Domantas Sabonis, I had to put it out there. 2 guys that I don't think anyone really talks about that much. Both been playing great the past few weeks. Honestly, the past month.
Yeah, the Kelly Oubre thing is a great call. He also became wildly popular because he truck sticked Kelly Olynyk when Kelly Oubre was when he was with the Wizards and Olynyk was on the Celtics. That was one of my first memories of Oubre. But yeah, he's been balling, dude. He's been a bucket the last few years, and unfortunately just stuck in Charlotte with the rest of the crew there. My 2 guys. Or 2, I said I was going to bring up JoJo again. Like Joel Embiid, it's crazy. We talked about the MVP race last episode, and like he wasn't even in the conversation. Then here he is, just like exploding onto the scene.
Back-to-back 50-point bombs.
Yeah, he's averaging. He has the highest points average in the league right now, 33.3 a game, 10 rebounds a game, just under 5 assists a game, a block and a half, a steal. Like over his last 10. He's shooting 50% from 3. Like if Joel Embiid is even going to shoot close to that number, just good luck. I mean, you just talked about Sabonis and the Kings, Steve. The Sixers played a subpar game yesterday and just handled them easily. So I just think JoJo. I mean, he said after he got robbed, quote unquote, from the MVP last year, that he doesn't care about this award anymore. Maybe he'll care a little more that it's called the Michael Jordan, but it's time Joel Embiid's name's in the conversation at least
Agreed.
because he's been balling. And then another dude who just came back, but like probably doesn't get the immediate attention he deserves. And the Blazers as a whole, really, but Dame Lillard. I mean, 11 threes the other night. And, other than it being blown up on Twitter that night, not really talked about. I mean, he's unbelievable, man. The Blazers got themselves a sneaky team over there.
We would have had a day of the media cycle if Jamal Murray doesn't hit that shot last week, and Dame gets the Dame time shot. We would have had a little bit of a cycle, but Murray it was a great shot by him too.
No, yeah, but you're right, Donnie. Dame. It's just because he does it on a night where there's only like a couple games. So people are like, I'll just take tonight off. I'll check the box score tomorrow. And that's when he goes off for like 46 points and 10 threes. And he just does it at like 11 p.m. But you're right, Donnie. I don't think there's been a superstar who's been more underappreciated than Dame Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I honestly wanted to bring up Lillard because, I mean, we know who Lillard is and like how good he is. And I mean, it's inspiring and it's awesome to see that he's been balling. He came back this year, got hurt kind of right away, and then he comes back and everyone's like, "Oh, Dame's back," but like, is he gonna have the injury bug now? No, 11 threes. He'll hand you a 40 piece with ease if he wants to. But and we've talked about his other teammate a couple times, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, bro. Like what? Where did this dude come from? Like for his career numbers, he's a 12-point per game scorer. He's averaging 22.6 this season. Talk about the George Mikan Award. I think we might have our most improved player right here. This dude showed up in Portland, and when Dame went down, him and Anthony Simons carried the load. I mean, he hit a buzzer beater. I forget who they were playing. It might have been against the Pelicans. I think Jeremy Grant hit a buzzer beater against the Pelicans this year. And he's just been absolutely balling. Like he's just doing everything this team's asked of him. He's shooting 45% from three. I didn't even know this guy was a 3-point shooter. So yeah, shout out to him, man. Like he had a stint in Denver. He was with Detroit for a while. Like
he played decent in Detroit because he was given like kind of the keys almost to the offense.
Yeah, that was when they had literally nobody.
Has been a great landing spot for him. You're right, Donnie.
Yeah, so that was my last dude I wanted to give flowers to, but
all
these guys deserving for sure.
All right, boys. Well, let's get to another great week of hoops this week. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For myself, Jake, Micah, Steve, and Dunny. That was Happy Hour Hoops. Have a great night, day, whatever, morning.